Hi, I'm Vinesh Pikale. I'm a Chartered Accountant. I'm a partner of RK Pikale and Company. We have 3 offices in Goa, Margao, Panjim and Ponda. Panjim is our principal office, the one we started off from. We have had a long history of more than 4.5 decades, and we are into principally audit and assurance, taxation consultancy, capital advisory and transaction structuring. We also do FEMA consulting. But because of the age of our firm and our ability to reach out, we have covered most areas of practice and we can provide services in all of these. I graduated from Denver College of Commerce, post which I joined the firm to do my articleship, which is the pre-training period before our CA qualification. After I qualified in November 2005, I worked for a stint with Deloitte for about a year, post which I joined back the firm. Real estate, I think, is one of the most important sectors, not just for India and also for Goa too. If I'm not wrong, and if you consider the vertical linkages upwards and downwards, real estate probably contributes about 50% of the GDP of the country. Goa is particularly driven by real estate because a lot of people have chosen Goa as their second home. Of course, this has also resulted in significant appreciation in the land prices and costs of properties, but it has also driven the economy. So real estate, I think, is a very, very important sector, and it's probably one of the largest employers in the informal segment too, for both skilled and unskilled. So I think the RERA Act is a fabulous piece of legislation. I think it's something that the country really needed for 2 or 3 specific reasons. From the industry perspective, it's great because it regulates the industry. It ensures that honest, competent builders stay in the market, they deliver the right product, and they are made accountable. From the buyer's perspective, they have the security of a law which protects them, and generally builders are known to be, or are at least looked at as being, a very powerful lobby. So the consumer gets requisite protection from the act. So I think it's a win-win because business elements which are not adhering to certain guidelines or not adhering to certain quality standards will automatically get eliminated from the market. The consumer gets protection and the industry as an overall prospers. So we advise our clients with regard to the entire spectrum of RERA compliances, whether it's registration, whether it's project planning around the RERA compliance, whether it's certification of costs incurred, maintenance of the escrow account in order to ensure that the RERA fund planning, the escrow mechanism or separate account mechanism, depending upon the state, is complied with. Buying a piece of property is always an emotional decision for most people, particularly those who are starting off on buying a house, or their first house, or the journey of acquiring a property the first time. I think it's very important that buyers exercise all possible due diligence and care, make sure that the project is RERA registered, make sure that the history of the developer, his past performance, his delivery timelines in the past, his quality of earlier projects, all of these, plus look at all the designs. There is you should not have any hesitation in asking questions to your developer, because that is the place you probably will spend a lot of time. So doing the background check, doing the due diligence, spending a lot of time mulling over the decision, I think, is very critical. So we do give them inputs. We help them plan their finances too, because sometimes they themselves are not sure about what extent they will be comfortable with installments. They'll not be comfortable about the quantum of money they'll be able to put in. So these are little bits of advice we do tend to give. Of course, most bankers have their own prudent norms for sanctioning home loans, which generally make sure that the buyers are not over leveraged. But when they do come to us, we give them bits of advice that they need. So home loans, I think, are a blessing for anyone who's looking to buy their home. A is because these loans are generally very long term. You get 20-year, 25-year, 30-year loans. You get these at fairly competitive rates of interest. And typically, if you bought an asset right, it'll probably grow faster than your loan. So you have this inherent protection. Therefore, home loans, I think, are a bit of a no-brainer if you're looking to acquire an asset and you have the ability to raise a home loan to fund it right. You should go for a home loan. My piece of advice would be, do shop around before you take a call on which home loan, because different banks offer different terms, offer different rates of interest, offer different types of products, and there's such a plethora of them out there that you can take a decision by trying to figure out, by talking to a few bankers and coming to the right decision. The taxation regime today offers two options. There is something called as colloquially as an old regime and a new regime. Certain benefits are available only in the old regime, and from the current financial or the current assessment year onwards, the new regime is the default regime. So if you want certain benefits, you have to either choose to go with the old regime or not. So such as ATC, it's a deduction which was available for repayment of home loans. Now that is available only in the old regime. But this is something that requires a little more planning because there are different income levels, there are different benefits. You should consult your tax advisor or your chartered accountant and take a decision. Capital gains is basically the profit that you make when you sell a capital asset. For example, a home is a capital asset, and for individual buyers per se, a home is a capital asset which you buy, and if you hold for less than 2 years is regarded as short term. If you hold it for more than 2 years, it's regarded as long term, and consequently a short term capital gain or long term capital gain is the profit that arises from the sale. Now, if it's a short term capital gain, sadly there aren't too many tax planning options available. But if it's a long term capital gain, the government does give quite a few reliefs to the buyers of new homes as against the sale of the old homes. So those are options that everybody who's looking at selling a home and buying a new home, or selling a home and looking at investing the money somewhere else, can explore. For example, there's a section called 54EC which allows you to park up to 50 lakhs of rupees in a year in capital gain exemption bonds and avoid paying the capital gain tax. Absolutely. So if you, for example, you've held a house for more than 2 years and then you decide to sell it, you can choose to invest just the profits that you made from the sale, the capital gains as computed after indexation and all of that, in a new house. You buy this new house within 2 years, or you construct a new house within 3 years, and you don't pay any tax at all. And the best part is all these tax benefit schemes are all fungible. So you can choose to mix and match them. You can have part bonds, you can have part capital gains investment in a new house, you can choose to part pay the taxes and so on and so forth. The only requirement is in the interim period when you're thinking of buying the house, if you've not identified it before filing your return, you need to park it into a separate capital gains deposit scheme account, which basically conveys to the government that you intend to buy a home. So the GST, as far as real estate goes, has been a bit of a turmoiled deployment. But post 2019, I think a large part of the confusion surrounding the GST on real estate has been more or less ironed out. The government has streamlined most of the areas. There is a clarity, and it's also consumer friendly because it is a lower rate, and builders also have clarity because they know that they need to charge a certain percentage based on the type of the unit that they are selling, which is either 1%, 5% or 12%. And in general, I think there is a serious effort on behalf of the government to streamline the difficulties that were originally faced by the real estate in the GST. So GST is principally a consumption tax. So it's a mode of collection of tax more than benefit to the end user or to the real estate. But from the perspective of being able to eliminate multiple taxes, probably yes, it has been good. So you used to have a service tax, then you had some other local body taxes in some other states, you had variety of other taxes which were not offsettable against each other. So I guess all of that has been done away, but that's a benefit that's generally available for anybody who's under the GST regime. Audit, I think, universally is very important because you have to eventually understand that a financial statement is something that various stakeholders in the economy rely on, whether it's bankers, whether it's shareholders, whether it's people who view financial statements of people they invest with, for whatever reason. Even maybe if you're a supplier or a vendor, if you know that your financial statements are strong, you'll be happier to deal with that individual. Now, how does one get comfort from the accuracy, authenticity, or the true and fairness of this financial statement? This is where auditors come in. Auditors are independent, they are not attached to anybody, and they give an independent opinion on those financial statements about whether they depict a true and fair view. So, which is where I believe audit is the most valuable role. In fact, if I quote correctly, I think our Prime Minister was kind enough to say that a chartered accountant's signature is more powerful than that of a Prime Minister. We've been associated with Mohidins for quite many years. They are a very ethical, very morally driven group, which always makes things a lot easier for all the stakeholders. And therefore, as an auditor, I believe we have the confidence. Of course, we do exercise all the diligence and all the standards of quality that our institute prescribes. but being an auditor of an ethical and a morally upright group always is a far easier job at hand. So our institute has this excellent concept called CPE, Continuing Professional Education. Every chartered accountant needs to spend a certain number of hours learning by either attending programs or by self-learning, and we need to actually report all of this through something called as a CPE program, portal that the institute has. And the institute looks at continuing professional education quite seriously. Of course, apart from that, as a practicing professional, any which ways, while you are performing your role as a professional, you do learn on the job, you learn things, you keep studying, you read new articles, you read new books. Anyway, the law is such a fast changing landscape that you anyway spend a lot of time trying to keep abreast of all the changes that happens. CPE is just one way of making it easier. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India is the largest accounting body in the entire world. And if you compare peer to peer, it's probably one of the most recognized professional courses or the professional qualifications anywhere in the world. There's a great demand for chartered accountants in India as well as abroad. And therefore, for any individual who has this love for figures, who loves law, who loves accounts, who loves conceptual planning, who understands finance, or who has a love for numbers and finance, it's a great profession to be in. There's a lot of potential, whether you choose to be in industry or in practice. And you just need to have the belief and the self-faith that you can work hard and learn the things that you're expected to learn. I'm not saying it's an easy course, but I'm not saying it's a difficult course either. So I've had the pleasure of being associated with Avesh from his very first project, right from the time he conceptualized it till the growth chart that he's charted out for Mohidin Properties as we see it today. So he has these remarkable qualities of foreplanning, being able to look at timelines in the right way, and being able to, more importantly, look at things in a very pragmatic manner and take decisions rather than leaving it for tomorrow. So believe it or not, his ability to look at all of these things as a comprehensive matter, not just from the business of constructing of a premise. He also looks at accounts, finance, all of that as part of the business. Very often entrepreneurs look at business excluding finance and accounts. For Avesh, that's never been the case. It's always been a comprehensive look of the business as a whole, which is why very often I think Avesh's audit is one of the first we complete in the financial year. Avesh is always open to suggestions, and he doesn't merely take them, he actually puts them into force, he deploys them. So which is why there's been a visible continuous improvement year on year. I think that's one of the advantages of having a proactive promoter. They are receptive to advice and they deploy these, which is why we see them climb up in compliance.